welcome back to Hi Guys, it's your boy BDR here, and I'm back with another overview video. Now today, I know some of you guys have been waiting for this, the Hollowborn Vindicator overview is finally here. It was among of the many several classes that got buffs last week, so here we are, been working on them one by one, so here is Hollowborn Vindicator. Now, the adjustments they made were basically now it has a safeguard effect, allowing for, protection while at low HP. And also they removed graceful. They're changing graceful, so now it removes decay, making it, possible to run different versions of the class. So how to get this class, it's, you got to go to Ultra Gramio Hub, talk to the mysterious figure, go to the shop, and here's the class. You need 4 condensed graces. Now, how to get 4 condensed graces? You have to, there's these quests right here. There's the non-insignia quest, and there's the insignia quest. We're basically, it's a 4-week ultra. I mean, each of these quests are weekly, so you're going to take 4 weeks regardless. But most people would rather just do the insignia, method, since it's like the easier one. So yeah, those are your only ways of, getting Hollowborn Vindicator. Now, let's look at the skills. So, its auto attack is Reformation, 2-second cooldown, physical, short range, 1 target. Deals damage based on your spell power while applying Reformation, reducing your target's crit chance and dodge by 20% for 30 seconds. There we have our rank 1 skill, Hollow Reckoning, 3-second cooldown, magical, long range, 1 target. Dealing increased damage to lower your health is and healing you for a portion of the damage dealt. Applies Hollow Reckoning, reducing your target's damage resistance by 6% for 10 seconds, stacking to 10. Also applies 1 stack of Grace Stolen for 10 seconds to your target, stacking to 10, and applies an extra stack if you're decayed. Your rank 2 skill, Focus Grace, which did get changed. It went from being a 6-second cooldown, now it's a 4.5-second cooldown. Magical, long range, 1 target. Siphon Grace from your opponent, consuming Grace Stolen and healing you based on the number of stacks. You gain Graceful, increasing damage resistance by 25% for 20 seconds and removing decay if it's active, can't miss. Your rank 3 skill, Divine Decree, 3-second cooldown, magical, long range, 1 target. Purge the evil from this realm, dealing damage based on your target's Grace Stolen stacks. If you are not decayed, applies Divine Decree to your target, reducing their outgoing damage by 60% for 8 seconds, can't miss. Your rank 4 passives, Glory Bringer, hit chance increased by 15%, and Destiny's Last Stand, endurance increased by 150%. Then we have our rank 5 skill, Born Anew, which also did get changed. Call out to the Shadow Fiend to become hollow for 15 seconds, increasing your outgoing damage by 100%, crit chance by 40%, and haste by 10%. And also shield yourself from death, applying Safeguard for 6 seconds, which blocks up to 2,500 damage. Also applies Decay for 4 seconds, negating all non-lifesteal healing you receive and preventing Safeguard from applying. Costs 50% of your max HP. So, yeah. And finally, for your rank 10 passive, Grace Given, crit chance increased by 15%. So what we can gather here from this class is just that, Focus Grace, get rid of decay. Born Anew got changed, now it has the Safeguard, which can, protects us. Blocks up to 2,500 damage, which is pretty nice. Protect us from some hard-hitting monsters. And, this class can greatly debuff the enemy as well. Alright then, let's move on to combos and enhance. Alright people, so here's the build for Hollowborn Vindicator. Wizard, caster class, Vainglory, damage, Pneumatic damage, Ravenous. Now that Ravenous got reworked and it triggers on 3rd skill, Ravenous is now really an option to use with Hollowborn Vindicator other than Dauntless. Think about the, the Hollowborn Vindicator changes. Now it's not really a Dauntless merchant as it was before. So I could just run this with like, Dauntless, Ravenous, Valiant. Yeah. Alright then. For your combo, what you want to do here is 4, 3, 2, 5, 2, 4, 2, 4, 5, and then repeat the combo. Now the thing about Hollowborn, Vindicator is that, it's a pretty good soloing class. I mean, it greatly debuffs, the enemy. It could apply to Grace Stolen. It's just that, yeah, its HP definitely has to be at a low point, to really see its damage go off. But once you do, it's like its damage does go through the roof. We have Ravenous as well helping us out. It could definitely solo as well. We have the Safeguard blocking us as well. There we go. Grace Stolen, 27k. Pretty nice. Let's do this. And then a 37k right there. So yeah, a minute 17, that's pretty good for, an end game soloing class. In terms of soloing, it's a good soloer. It's good soloer, greatly debuffs, has access to the safeguard, really making it, a solid, end game soloing option. All right, let's move on to farming. Guys, this class isn't a farmer. You need to be at low HP to really get its true damage. Plus, it's a single targeting class, so no, this isn't a farming class. All right, let's move on to survivability. All right, people. So, in terms of survivability, Hollowborn Vindicator has some good survivability going for it. You know, it has access to the Safeguard ability, which can block up to 2,500 damage, being able to, hold its own against monsters like Primarch. Being able to like have that ability and go toe to toe with Primarch without instantly dying is definitely a good survivability feat. Definitely a good survivability feat right there. Being able to like also greatly debuff the enemy is also pretty nice as well. It's just the safeguard really does wonders for it. It does wonders for it, and yeah. That wasn't that bad. Here we are, beat Primarch, no items, here we go. So in terms of survivability, it has good survivability. It can survive monsters like Primarch, they're like super hard-hitting bosses. Alright then, let's move on to support and then final thoughts. Alright then, so in terms of support, Hollowborn Vindicator is packing debuffs. It has Reformation, which can reduce the target's crit chance and dodge by 20% for 30 seconds. You have a stackable debuff in the Hollow Reckoning, which can reduce the target's damage resistance by 6% for 10 seconds, stacking to 10. And it also has Divine Decree, which can reduce the outgoing damage by 60% for 8 seconds, can't miss. So in terms of support, while you'll see it like once in a blue moon, when you do see it, it is, bringing debuffs to the party. All right then. The pros about Hollowborn Vindicator is that, it's a good end game soloer. As you saw with Primarch, it could definitely hold its own in there. Definitely now a comfortable option for that fight and similar, fights like Primarch. It now has access to Safeguard, which blocks up to 2,500 damage, giving it extra protection in some of those, hard-hitting fights. It also has, many debuffs as well to really protect itself. And yeah, that's pretty much it for pros. Alright then. The cons about Hollowborn Vindicator is that, well, one, it's locked behind a 4-week Ultra, similar to Chaos Avenger. Two, it has to be at basically the brink of death, even with Safeguard. It has to be at the brink of death to really maximize its damage. And lastly, as good as Hollowborn Vindicator is, there's still better, soloing options out there, Guardian, like even like Lich, Chaos Avenger, Chrono Shadow Slayer, those classes, you know, still competing with those classes. So yeah, that's pretty much it for cons. All right then. My final verdict about Hollowborn Vindicator is that Hollowborn Vindicator, now with its changes, is really a good soloing class that could hold its own in hard-hitting fights. I recommend getting this class if you're looking for something new as an endgame player. All right, people, that's pretty much been it for the Hollowborn Vindicator overview. Make sure to like and subscribe. I understand, you guys have been waiting a while for my overview on Hollowborn Vindicator. Now, here it is. Also, write in the comments down below, how do you guys feel about Hollowborn Vindicator, before and after the changes? All right, then. Hi, guys, out.